Welcome. I'm Faye Waterman, the Conversation Curator, and today this is What's Your Superpower, the podcast. And my guest today is Misty Henkel, the sales queen. Welcome, Misty, and thank you for your time.
Oh, you're welcome, Faye. I always love being interviewed. So it's good to come out and see you again. I've been interviewed by you before, like on your
Yes.
radio.
Yes. Now, Misty, what the purpose of our What's Our Superpower or What's Your Superpower is so that you can talk about what you're good at and why you're good at it and how you can help others to be good at what they do. So please share a little bit of your background of where you come from and how you got to where you are today.
All right. So I'm a sales trainer, but I'm a salesman by trade. I've always loved money since, I don't know, the moment I saw my first little coin and realized that that thing buys chocolate. And I've just always had an affinity for it and always wanted it. So over the years, from, like really small, right up, I learned to knit when I was 5. I learned to crochet when I was 7. I think sewing was somewhere between 5 and 7. I know I used to knit babies' clothes, so babies' booties. I'd send them off to my great-grandmother in Burke, and she would sell them for me. Then I would get the cash, and I just love that, like ways to earn your own money. I think when I was about 7 or 8, a friend of my mum's, I was crocheting doilies. I'd learned how to crochet doilies. And she said, could you do a set for my bedroom? You sit down and you write down every time that you start it, write down the time. And then when you finish, write down the time. We'll work out exactly how long it took you to do it. And then I'll decide what I'll pay you for that. And it's about 50 hours. I paid $50. I was about, 8, 9. I was young. I was less than 10. And I had
That's
$50.
pretty amazing.
This is great. Yeah.
Being an entrepreneur at such a young age.
Yeah.
Not realizing that those entrepreneurial skills were going to take you somewhere else, but developing those. Did you have someone you cherished or you had as a mentor to nurture?
No, I had these lines. See, your great-grandmother, she could sell ice to Eskimos. And I have an aunt as well who, same thing, Janine could sell ice to Eskimos. And so I've always heard that line that you've got to be, it's talent. It's you're born with it. They just have the ability, the gift of the gab. Turns out everybody in my family has the gift of the gab. Everybody in my family can talk. And so along the way of this accidental journey, but working out how to have my own money. So I went into odd jobs, but I was always looking for work. So from the age of 13, I was a nanny to 3 boys. So a newborn, a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. Most afternoons after school, I would go over this one, like year 8, year 9, maybe year 8, I think. I would go over in the afternoon. Turns out years later, I discovered the mum had postnatal depression. So I gave her a break for about 4 hours every afternoon. And I would go over and I'd play with the boys, but I would bath them, dress them, give them dinner before being driven home most afternoons, and worked at a costume shop. Found that hard. I can do it now. So I found out the secrets to selling much later, and from deliberately going into deliberate sales jobs, like as a barmaid, as furniture
Can I
sales.
just stop you for a minute?
Yeah.
Working in the costume shop, you said you found it hard. What was hard about it? What did you find hard?
People would come in and they'd say, so I've got to go to a costume party and the theme is sea. So what could I go as? And then I would say, which drives me bananas, but it's actually the standard line that any assistant, sales assistant, store assistant, but ultimately salesman will say is, well, what do you like? Well, clearly, if it was about what they liked, they wouldn't be in asking. It was about what they didn't know. And so they weren't asking. Looking back, they weren't asking, what do you recommend I go as? It's like, what do you have? What's available to see? And we had books on that. But I didn't, young, I didn't understand the question, even though I kept being given the answers over and over going, here's a book, just have them go through the book. I thought I had to help them. I had to pick it. And it's the same working in jewelry. I couldn't sell jewelry. I could sell silver jewelry. I couldn't sell gold because I didn't wear this stuff myself. So people would come and go, oh, look at these rings. But looking back, it's like, why don't you try it on? What do you like? what do you like the look of? Why don't you just try it on? They'll actually sell it to themselves. All they need is encouragement to test things out, and customer will actually buy all by themselves. So I've learned a lot of sales stuff along the way. I deliberately went into sales jobs like as a barmaid. So for 10 years, barmaids are serving food and drink. And that was deliberate, many reasons. But one of them was I like the idea of earning tips. Now, we don't really do that. We don't do that in Australia. But if I had have worked over in Canada, even now, if I work over in Canada or America, clean up. 100%, I would clean up. In fact, I've been to America and Canada, and I have said, like, I've gone over there, gone to restaurants and things, and I give tips, and I've gone, I could have done such a better job. Like, seriously, I would have earned more money in tips than you would have been paying for dinner. And it's not hard. It's little things like, oh, you've got an accent. Where are you from? Australia. Okay. Have you gone and seen? And people pay more money for what they aren't paying for, so information, than what they do for what they're paying for. So as a barmaid, if I just serve them the food and the drink, which is what they ask for, it's not actually worth anything, because it's worth, well, I did my job, what they asked for. It's giving the extra information.
Yeah, it's having that conversation with them and giving them information that they're not familiar with.
Yeah.
And it's actually, what you're doing is building that trust so that they want to come back if they're a local or whatever, or they enjoy the environment and the atmosphere and someone like you to serve them.
Yeah.
So therefore they keep coming back for returns.
So I used to say to my mum would say, I was about 24, and she'd say, but you're just a barmaid. I said, I'm not just a barmaid, Mum. I'm the greatest barmaid in the world. People come in with very little money. They leave with even less, and they don't blame me for it, and they come back the next day to do it again. And they don't blame me for it. I said, because of the night that they had. You know, I would put the music on in the jukebox. I wouldn't ask them to do it. I'd put the music on. What songs do you like? I'd put the music on in the jukebox. They'd sit there all night and listen to their songs. So easy, right? So I would literally say, like, my boss, the last place that I worked at was in Hayes. It was a small country town, but the pub there. And my boss, when he hired me, said, your job is to not let them leave while they have money in their wallet. Right. Then I'll make that happen. No such thing as a drunk person when they've got money in their wallet. And the truth is, I had the drunkest person on the planet in one day, and I've gone, oh my God, I can't serve him. One of the new local policemen came in. So he'd only been new to town, and he came in having a drink. So in civvies, just in normal t-shirts and stuff, right? And this guy, this incredibly drunk guy, I thought, I can't serve. I technically shouldn't even have you in here. Like, he couldn't hardly lift his head off the table. He was so drunk, right? There's a glass of water, you're on your way out, right? So he's walking. So this new guy was walking around having a drink, and this dude's name was Pistol, and he said, oh, you're new in town? So for as drunk as he was, he could recognize a new person. Oh, you're new in town. What do you do? And the guy said, I've just moved into town. I'm the local street sweeper. He goes, street sweeper? What is that? He said, about 2 o'clock most mornings, he said, I go out and I clean all the crap out of the gutters. He goes, that's great. The next day, he comes in uniform because he was working. He come through and he had to walk through the pub. Pistol was in it again. He goes, I know you. He said, you said you were some sort of cleaner at night, a garbage man. You're a cop. And he said, no, I said, I'm a street sweeper and I clean the crap out of the gutters at 2 o'clock in the morning. He goes, I get it. He was still that drunk. And it's when I really looked at him and gone, see, you could come to me, be the only person in the pub, come up to the bar, buy a beer. I'd say, hi, how you going? Where you from? You know, this is great. Buy a beer, go around the corner, play the poker machines for 5 minutes, come back to the bar without your empty glass, and I would see you as a completely new person. I'd start the conversation all again. Hi, how are you going? Where are you from? And these people would look at me going, it's weird. I couldn't retain the visual look of a person when I assume them to look a different way. There's no way I can remember who someone is when they come in a yellow shirt today and now they're wearing a uniform tomorrow. Like, there's no way. Until I really know the person, there's no way I'm going to recognize him. This guy was drunk out of his mind to what it looked like, and yet he could recognize someone going from walking around having a beer and a drink with everyone to being in a police uniform the next day. with a hat. So like completely different. And it really opened my eyes to there's really no such thing as a drunk person, just someone who wants to play it.
Yeah.
As drunk as they like, right? Because this guy and and so I would look at it like that and just go, well, if you can understand all of this,
He would
you
he
know,
would get to see things that we don't observe. So he obviously was drunk, or as drunk as he wanted to be, played maybe.
he could, I know he was completely, but you know, you observe what you want to observe.
Yeah.
And so anyhow, I had this ability to just yeah, but people would, because that was my job, right? My job was to serve the drinks or to feed them food or whatever it was, right? So I didn't serve drunk people. I just served them. They knew not to play drunk. Like, I mean, I remember serving one guy. I had no idea he was drunk. Like, none. He sat at the bar all night. Drunk people are really good, right? They know that they're not allowed to drink in there. So when he had to get up to go to the bathroom, he did a beeline out to the bathroom and you beeline back. He was fine. But at the end of the night, when it was time to leave, he had to crawl to the door. I thought, oh crap, I've served you for too long, but you can't tell.
No.
When people want to drink you can't tell because they know how to behave now, and it's only a problem right at the end.
Yeah.
But my point being to the story is not that I got people drunk, but my point being is always just love money, and it's how you treat people. You know, Faye, they say this all the time. So as a sales trainer, I'm just going to throw this in. They say this all the time. It's about building rapport. I've never built rapport with a single person. I've always just assumed we're friends. Why would we not be? Just because I don't know who you are, just because you don't know who I am. So as a result, I've maintained rapport, but never built it. I've maintained the relationship from my end. So I've created it at my end, maintained it. I've never built it. And as a result, people don't know the difference.
Is it that you recognize those people and notice them? Because when you have conversations with people, particularly street people, they say, thank you for seeing me.
That's what I do. Turns out we could say that that's my superpower. I have the ability to make people feel good. And so therefore, you know, things happen. But the truth is, when it comes to my superpower, so as a sales trainer, so I go from being a salesman, so I went from being a barmaid to selling fantastic furniture. So I sell, so I work in the supermarket. We sell everything at full price. I then went as a barmaid and you know, waitress, where you sell everything at full price. I then worked at Fantastic Furniture, where you weren't allowed to discount. That was the price. I worked for Apple Computers, where the price is the price. I worked for the government office in patents and trademarks, where no matter how many trademarks you get in, it's the price per trademark times however many trademarks. I've never sold a thing, and of course I buy groceries. I've never sold a thing that was allowed to be discounted ever. And as a result, I get this insight as a sales trainer. I've had this insight over the years of watching people bitch and complain about spending money on things. And I disagree with the price and I'm not doing it. Well, they turn around, open their wallet and buy it. Yeah. But hey, as a consumer, I do exactly the same thing. I go in to buy one thing, generally a block of chocolate. Most people buy coffee when it runs out. Not me. I'm all for the chocolate bars, right? So I'll go in, okay, just need one thing, chocolate. I'll go in to buy one block, $50 worth of stuff. Or I go in to buy the milk. $50 worth of chocolate later. It's like, why are you like this? And yet I still feed the machine the cash. Like, I can complain, but there's nothing that can be done short of me handing the stuff back. And since I'm not going to, so I've learnt this insight into sales along the way. So as a salesman, I love sales, and I believe everybody should have. Sales is a life skill. And if you want people to go on the holiday that you want to go on, you're going to need some sales. You want someone to go to the movies with you, you're going to need some sales skills. You want the kids to eat broccoli without bitching and complaining at you. It's a bit easier when they're younger, but you need some sales skills. So sales is everywhere. And then, you know, for other things, sales is cash for thing as well, which becomes uncomfortable because it's a cash related thing. But it's no different to anything else. So I've become a sales trainer purposely to teach people how to use selling as a life skill, but also I have this underlying belief that everybody should be allowed to have the information on how to have money whenever they like, regardless of the economy. And the truth is, we don't learn it at school. And we can't learn it at school because the majority of people grow up with the idea that sales is hard and you have to be, let's go back to the original concept, born with the gift of the gab and a born salesman.
But aren't we selling ourselves every day, regardless of whether we're in business or whether we're in a job, we're selling ourselves because people will associate with you if they like you or they
Every
get
day.
that feel
Every day.
every
Like, I mean,
day.
I grew up with the sales line of dress for the job that you're after. Dress for what you're after, because that's you've got 10 seconds or 5 seconds, or they make an instant, it's an instant impression on what it's going to be. On one hand, I do believe in that, but since COVID, I've gone, shit, I turn up in my pajamas. I haven't washed my hair yet. I've been up since 4:30. Granted, it's only just 7 o'clock now. I haven't washed my hair yet, thrown a crown on, put on some lippy, wearing my TEDx t-shirts. Look at the mess that's in the background, which, it's the wall that people are used to. I mean, I'm aware of the mess. I don't know if anyone else notices it.
I don't, you know what, you don't see anything but what's
No.
on the wall behind you.
I sell every day, and I teach sales every day, and I ignore this other stuff that I really don't have any control of at any one time. I have control of washing my hair. I don't have control of time when it's run out. And so learned that, like, even with networking events or sales classes, my mum would say, oh, but Misty, you need to be professional. You need to do this. I said, Mum, I could run a sales class or a networking event out of the boot of my car, and they're not going to notice the environment for the training that they get.
Yeah.
It's all how you, it's the perception, what you're selling is the perception of you and your, say, comfortableness of things in life,
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about the environment. I mean, what you do if you're selling out of the boot of your car, your environment is the boot of your car, but there's more to the environment. The environment is you creating that place.
It's all me. It's not the boot of the car. It's got nothing to do with the boot of the car.
That's right.
It's all me.
That's right.
100%. It's all me. How I treat people.
Yeah, they're not looking at anything else but you and listening to what you're saying.
So technically, that's right. So technically, a superpower of mine is I was given this. I was 27 years old, and I was given this by someone who walked into the pub when I was in Hay. So this was a pub where you're allowed to eat, drink, and smoke at the bar. And this is back in the day, right? We're looking at only 20 years ago, right? You could smoke at the bar. And he came in. He was just a traveller coming through, stopped for the night. And of course, this cop was around, talking around, having a drink. He goes, wow. And he didn't know he was a policeman. So he said, wow, that guy is really knowledgeable. He's only young, right? This guy's only like 27 too. He said, or in his 20s. And he said, the guy's really knowledgeable of, what's going on in town, what's in the news. And I said, yeah, me, I'm useless. I said, you can give me a newspaper. And I said, I can't retain a single thing that shows up in a newspaper or on the news. I said, I have to read the same line 15 times. I've got nothing. And this guy said to me, he said, no, he said, but you've got something else that's actually more important. Really? There's something more important than knowing about the news and what's going on in the world. And he gave it to me. And he said, you have the ability to make people feel good. He said in words what I've always known and what I've always worked on. That's right, I do. That's how you sell. If you can make someone feel good, they will buy, and it doesn't matter what they're buying. It's because they like you. So at the pub, because I had the ability to make people feel good, hey, how you going? I'll put some of your music on, and how was your day? And here, let me get you a drink, and I'll get dinner organized. And they're thinking, shit, I wasn't even staying that long. I just fluffed around and got it done, then handed them a bill, right? But because I had the ability to make them feel good, they paid. But they weren't paying for the food and the drink. They were paying for the food and the drink, but they were initially paying for, actually, she's really nice, and I just want to sit in this environment because I feel quite comfortable here.
Yeah.
And that's what they're paying for, right? They get the other stuff. So as a result, in my sales training, I teach that. But here's what's interesting. Here's my superpower, because I've been asked this before. And actually, Faye, I was asked this. The first time I was asked this, it was a networking event that you ran, and you went around, you said, what's your superpower? What's your superpower? And I was left to last this particular event. It was funny because half the group knew me and half the group didn't. And so when it got time to me, I remember you saying, so Misty, what's your superpower? Not like we don't know, right? And half the group laughed. And it allowed me that moment, because I've been sitting here going, what is my superpower? It allowed me that moment to go, no, you tell me what you think my superpower is. So I know this other guy years ago, 20 years ago, he told me my superpower was, he told it to me. He said, you have the ability to make people feel good. And he said, it's very important. And that's what made me so good as a barmaid, right? So that's always been there. And I thought, I'll just hone in on that because that's really cool. I actually like that about anybody, but about me. I like that so much. That one moment I used to be a not confident person, but from that one moment, my confidence changed entirely. Just knowing where my superpower was. Yeah, go say
Yeah.
something.
But it's also it's what people see in you.
Yeah. Hearing someone else's view, right? So interesting
Yeah.
at this event, I had some say, you give confidence in sales, and then, and you have the ability to break down sales. So it's really easy. So you can teach it really well. But it really comes down to this. Yes, I can do all of those things. And yes, I do have the ability to make people feel good, right? Which everybody does if they want to, right? But actually, here's my superpower. So I'm a sales trainer, right? A salesman and a sales trainer. Here is my superpower. I have the ability to teach anybody on the planet to be a salesman, whether they want to be or not. And it takes less than, I'll say 10 seconds, but it definitely takes less than 5 to 10 minutes. And then what I teach against their wishes, let's think the most staunch, I'm not a salesman, I don't want to be, I don't want to have the gift of the gab, I don't want to do it, I don't want to do it, I don't want to do it, I don't ever want to
That
sell.
was me.
Right?
That was me.
Yeah. So in regards to that person there, in less than 5 minutes, I can accidentally teach them to sell, although I know what I'm doing. I can accidentally teach them to sell, so they turn around and go, damn you, I'm not going to be able to turn this off now. I hate you so much. I know. And I'm fine with that. Right? So once you know how to do it, and the secret is you just tell people what it is that you're doing. If there's so anything you're doing, I'm going to the movies. Do you want to come with me? I mean, that's as hard as it is to sell. But then accept their answer. It's either yes or no. That's it. Whatever their answer is, go, no problems, right? Okay, yes, great, let's go. No, all right, no problems. And so now, when you learn that, it's really hard to turn off.
It's looking at it, you're making me look at it in a different perspective again, where you ask someone to go to the movies with you. You can go by yourself, but you'd like to have some company, and they can say yes or no. Regardless of whether they've got the time or not, if they really want to go, and because they like you, they will put off what they're doing and go to the movies with you because you've asked them in a way that makes them feel good, and they want to share time with
Let's
you.
look at this, right? I was talking to the doggies today. Got two golden retrievers. We're going for a walk at 4:30 this morning. I was talking to them today, talking about being on here and saying superpowers and selling ideas, selling things, right? And I was saying to them, I said, so it really comes down to this. So I'll paint this picture to make it really hard for you never to be able to sell ever again, right? So for anyone who's listening, you don't want to be a salesman, I'm telling you, here's as hard as it is. Think of a bride. So think of this story. Think of a bride. She's getting married. She has to decide on the date and the time and the place. And then she writes a list of people and she tells everybody. Now, I'm sure 12 months in advance, I had a girlfriend who was getting married in Fiji. She said, we're getting married in Fiji. You have to be there. There is no choice. Start saving now. And I can use all the excuses like, oh, but we've just had a baby. We've done this and we've done that. And we don't have the money. And we've got to do this and we've got to do that. And we've got to sort out passports and everything else. But here's the truth. Here's how a bride does it. They just tell you the rules of the wedding, date, time, and place. And then you, the guest, have the choice to work it out. So you can sit there going, I can't do it for whatever reason. But over time, since those rules haven't changed, I get to work it out. Am I going or not going? Right? Funerals do it even faster. You die, someone puts on a funeral on your behalf, and in less than 4 days, people will travel from all over the globe to end up there. They will work it out. And then, so your wedding, they'll spend a year agonizing over this. The guests will spend a year agonizing over it, finally get there to whatever time, cost, and whatever it is, price that it is. And they'll spend half a day there, not get to see the bride, and then they'll leave. For a funeral, 4 days notice, they'll rock up from all over the place. And then with the intention of, I'll go to the funeral and go home, they see everybody, they stay for up to 4 days.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And all they need is the rules of the funeral, date, time, and place.
Yeah.
And for all the complaints that they say to themselves, they sell it to themselves. Customers sell themselves all the time. All you have to do is give them the rules.
Yeah. So we, when we go shopping, we go with intention of we want to buy something, or we'll go to a specific store and we'll say, I want to buy this. And it can be a price that they're looking for, a discounted price or whatever, so they might go to a few stores. But, they can walk in, and if they get served by someone who's really good and nice and they like them, regardless of the price, they'll buy it.
That's right. They'll stand there complaining to themselves until they justify it, and they'll buy it anyway. I watched it happen. Apple is the greatest example. Most expensive computers on the planet. I only have Apple because when I started working for Apple, I discovered a bloke named Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
I actually believe in Steve and his
absolute nutcase.
His plan. Yeah. Certified nutcase. Right. So I actually believed in Steve and his plan for the world. So as a result, now that he's been dead probably at least 10 years, but and I have to say, with the new phone that I've had for 3 years, I really hate that they took away the one button. They ruined the one thing that Steve absolutely made certain that everybody had, one button. He looked at a BlackBerry, said there's something like 54 or 84 buttons. I'm taking them all out. I'm giving you one. Now, the new people have taken away the one button and given us a swipe screen, which I hate. And while in my head I'm going, they're going to run this company into the ground. However, I still believe in Steve.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter how much they ruin everything. I believe in Steve and his original thought. As a result, I'm part of the Steve fan club. I can't buy a different sort of phone or computer. Even though I have to say, Jack, I think, has a Samsung, and he got a tick in his neck earlier in the year. And we pulled it out. We didn't really know, but we pulled it out. So turned out, put it on a piece of, like a tissue. Jack gets out his phone, zooms in, takes a picture, and then zooms in. Seriously, you can see it like as if it's under like better than a microscope. It is so amazing. On my phone, from the same angle, I zoomed in and it's just like a blob. Like the stuff doesn't work as good as some of these other things, right? So like phones and things, Samsung, I don't know all phones, but Samsung has a much superior camera. And let's face it, we use their camera for most things now.
Yeah.
And it's annoying. I take pictures with mine and then go, what, that end up blurry? I know, because it's the Apple component in it. But or it's, whatever they use. Which is a lower quality, some of the other stuff. On the other hand, I can't change platforms because I still believe in Steve Jobs, and I'm part of the Steve Jobs fan club, so I pay the money that way, even though it doesn't give me anywhere near what it is that I'm after.
Yeah.
But we buy according to who we believe in, their products according to who we believe in. Sometimes we buy the product because it's the product, but that's because we're selling ourselves in on what we believe of that product, company name, or person who's selling it to us anyway.
Yeah, and there's millions of people that believe in Apple, and they stand at the store when there's a new product, early hours of the morning before the store opens, cannot see the logic in it. But if I wanted something like that, I wouldn't stand for hours. I'd wait.
Yeah.
And I get it anyway.
Yes. Just late, that's all. Whereas those other ones, what the prestige was saying, I was the first. Harry Potter books were the same.
Yeah.
Harry Potter books were the same. So they just didn't want a spoiler. They didn't want someone else to spoil the initial, having it, right? So if the option was to stand at Ticket Tech to get tickets to Pink, I'd do it. The option isn't there anymore. So as a result, you're kind of just stuck in the crowd of hoping you get something. Like I bought 2 tickets to Pink for me to take Jack. Jack's been waiting 5 years. He's 13. And I bought us 2 tickets. And we're literally on opposite sides of a 51,000 person stadium because those were the 2 tickets that I could get. I said to Jack, I said, you're not sitting by yourself. And I'm not leaving you in a crowd of 50,000. I don't care if you have a phone on the night. And I said, my job is to get us into the stadium. As for the seating arrangements, that's a different problem to deal with on the night. Until we get in the stadium, we have no problem to deal with.
Yeah.
No problem at all, right? But so it's all about sales. And so that's where my superpower lies. My superpower lies in the ability to turn everybody into a salesman, whether they want to be or not. And see, once you have the knowledge to be a salesman, you can choose to use it or not. And that's my goal in life, is to have 8 billion people have the choice. And a lot of people don't want the choice. So you don't have to use it. You just have to have it.
But why is it? I think, I never used to think I was a salesman, and I worked in retail, and I I couldn't sell something I didn't believe in or didn't look good or anything like. I couldn't sell it. I'd find something, but I could talk about the product, and I worked in white goods and things at some stage, and I could talk about it, I could use it, I could demonstrate it, I could do all that. I could get them to the quote, but I couldn't get them past that.
Yep.
If I'd had and understood what I understand now, it would have been a totally different situation.
Yep.
You know, so it's really interesting. We don't look at ourselves as salespeople, but we're selling ourselves every day, regardless of whether we're walking down the street and we're having a conversation with someone, we walk into a shop and someone says hello. It's all about that connection.
But you were heading towards that why was I against it? Why could I not sell?
Yeah.
Here's why,
Yeah.
right? It's as simple as this. Someone once somewhere said to you sales was hard.
Oh.
Someone once somewhere said that only the rare few can sell. Someone once somewhere said nobody likes a salesman. Here's how it is. Think of a wives' tale, right? How did a wives' tale come out? What, an apple a day keeps the doctor away? Wives' tale, right? Now, I've asked this before of people. Where'd that come from? Someone said, I think it was an apple seller. It was advertising. It probably was. Or it could have been as simple as this. One person once said to, let's say, their father, some woman or wife said to her husband or father, said, or he said, you know, I eat an apple every day. I've never been sick. And it could be as simple as that. One person once. So then that spread. You know what? Jack down the street eats an apple every day. He's never been sick. Maybe it's the apple, right? So wives tale come about because one person once it happened. Pretzels. Simon and I talk about pretzels, like the making of pretzels. So Simon's a baker by trade. And so he's of German descent. So pretzels are a very exciting product, right? But having learned all the bakery stuff, like baked goods, bread baked goods, right? You do cakes, but bread baked goods. He said to me once, years ago, he said, yeah, so he said, pretzels, how you get that shiny look on a pretzel. He said they're dipped in caustic soda before they're cooked. No, that's bad for you, isn't it? He goes, oh yeah, it's horribly dangerous. Like, okay, so here's how it is, right? Even now, today, here's what they do, is they roll the dough, they do the shape of the pretzel, and then they either dip it in a solution of like this much caustic soda and this much of a bucket of water, right? But it's so bad, it's so poisonous to your, like it's so bad for you to touch that he has gloves that are about this thick, like right up to here as he puts it in, or he paints it, whatever it is, right? It's that bad. And then it gets put in the oven and baked, right? That's when it gets baked off. Now, here's the question. How did anyone come up with this in the first place? Probably one simple wives' tale. It came up once because think at the beginning of time, 200 plus years ago, right? Kings and queens, let's say in Germany, right? They're, cooking bread for the king. And what's happening is they're baking bread, they're putting it all out, they're baking bread. And downstairs in the kitchen, the scullery maid is there cleaning as well with the caustic soda, no skin on her hands because of the caustic soda and everything else that she's cleaning with. And accidentally the bread falls into the bucket that she's cleaning with. Well, bread is very expensive. So what we'll do is we'll pull that out, cook that, but we'll give it to the poor people at the end of the king's table. We're not giving it to the king, right? We'll give it to the poor people because, they've got to eat too and we can't afford it. So it went down there. As a result, it came out looking bright and shiny. Those people didn't die and they're gone, we're giving that to the king from now on. Like it would have been as simple as just that. It happened once. And then they've gone, hey, let's do that all the time. So a wives' tale. So let's look at this sales stuff. One person once said, this sales thing is hard. And then everybody took it as the truth. One person once said, no one likes a salesman. And then everybody took it as truth. One person once said, you need to have the gift of the gab. And everybody took it as truth. The truth is we have it when we're born. Here's how we have it. We cry, we get born, we cry, mum comes running. We had it all along. But then we listen to these wives' tales, this one truth that one person had once that happened to say by the wayside, and everyone took it as truth. So now they actually spread the message as that before you even get to be a salesman. Or here, this one. Why am I no good as a salesman? Because nobody likes a salesman. One person once said it, and everyone took it as truth.
It's a bit like the wives' tale, money doesn't grow on trees.
That's right.
And it sets a precedent for people, and they start to believe it. But
That's
when
right.
you actually delve into who you are and what you do, you sell yourself.
Here's
Every
the
day.
greatest wives' tale of all time. Now, notice these wives' tales, they're just ads. They're advertisements. Here's the greatest advertisement of all time. It's been since the 70s, and it's known across the entire planet. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Now, where did that come from? The cereal companies.
Yeah.
As in Cocoa Pops, as in Kellogg's, as in cornflakes, as in Frosties, Fruit Loops. It came from that. It's been used for over 50 years.
Oh, yeah.
And it's an ad that was created by the cereal companies to sell cereal.
It's interesting, isn't it? And it's that psychology of setting people on that road to believing that.
Whereas my kids, they're 11 and 13, they say, but breakfast is just the first thing you eat, regardless of when you get up. So, yes, we have breakfast type food, like the boys will say, but I won't have that for breakfast. Like I won't have lasagna for breakfast. Well, boys, since you're just getting out of bed, well, you got out of bed a few hours ago and it's now 12 o'clock. Just because you're breaking your fast on this doesn't make it breakfast food. It's not breakfast time. It's now much later in the day. So, but it's still technically the first meal you eat of the day is breakfast. My breakfast this morning was a cup of tea and 2 cold double-coated Tic Tacs. And that was about 5 o'clock this morning. Why? Because that's what I wanted. I broke my fast on that, and I'll have something else later on.
Well, my breakfast is a cup of coffee, a glass of water and a cup of coffee so far.
Yeah.
And I've been awake since 4:30 this morning. I haven't been up then. I got up a bit later than that.
If we had a lamb roast in the fridge, my breakfast would have been that. We didn't have it. I'll be getting that in 2 weeks' time when I'm down at Simon's mom's place. James makes, actually, he does a Sunday roast, but I'm having surgery on a Monday, like the very next day. So this isn't going to work. So I'm going to have to play, but James, you need to do it on the Saturday so that then I can have breakfast of roast, and I can have lunch of roast, and I can have dinner of roast before I head down to my surgery because I'm the laddie. So, but you know, I'll start the day with last night's dinner, Chinese. Oh, 100%. I'd be all over that.
Really?
I'll just eat whatever at any time. Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it? How you grow up with things. And
tacos. I need tacos first thing in the morning because I love it.
No, I would never think about that. Isn't it interesting? Now let's go over your superpowers again, because I think it's really important for people to understand that we all have superpowers. We don't really recognize them, but it is really important for us to recognize how good we are at what we do, and that our superpowers can support and help other people grow, nurture themselves, and be great at what they do.
So my superpower is this: I have the ability to teach anyone across the planet to sell. That's it. And even against your wishes, it takes me less than 10 seconds. I will teach you to sell against your wishes. You'll never be able to turn it off, but you'll have the choice to turn it off. When you know how to do it, you have the choice to be able to do what you want whenever you want.
Thank you, Misty. That's been great. A fabulous conversation. We always have fabulous conversations. I'm Faye Waterman, the conversation curator. This has been What's Your Superpower, the podcast, and we'll be back again. Bye for now.